Hello, everybody. My name is Reginald Holloway, and welcome back to Outreach with Reggie. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about going from presence to power. So stay tuned. For this particular episode, we're going to be talking about the power of community action, and along with that, purpose. Today we're talking about something that often gets overlooked, or just how being there can definitely grow real leadership. But what does real leadership even look like, So within that presence to power, this is what that means. Now, when people talk about presence or they talk about leadership, they usually bring up someone of great notoriety, right? They talk about somebody who's in a great position of power, someone on the stage, or someone with a mic in their hand, or giving a speech, a grandiose speech, if you will, or somebody that really makes great moves in this world. But real leadership, and I have to say this because the misconception of that is so wide that it doesn't make sense. But it's really the honesty of this next statement. So come a little closer. It doesn't start when the lights are on you. It starts when no one is listening, right? When you say something, you feel like it falls on deaf ears, or you put out a video, you tell a story, you write a book, or you do something, and you're doing it for the first time, right? It's not the loudest person in the room, but it's often the person that doesn't say relatively anything. Long story short, is what I'm saying to you is, it's the person who shows up. Let me say it again. It is the person who shows up. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people can be very loud, very articulate with their words, they control the room. Commanding voice, strong presence. But hold on to what I just said there, strong presence. You can speak a mile a minute, you talk very good, but are you present? Because real leadership often is quiet, but it's about showing up. I remember, right? I remember when I first started public speaking. It was my second, I didn't do it for a while, but I was in the middle of my senior year of college. And I just remember talking or communicating, and I was given the opportunity to, through word of mouth, somebody invited me into their organization, and they said, hey, we love for you to do this conference. You're going to be speaking in front of judges. You're going to be sharing a bit of your story, and look out for that, because in the future, I get a surprise for you guys. But yes, I was given the opportunity to share my story. I was given 5 minutes to speak and share my experience about what I went through within the foster care system. So I took those 5 minutes and I was like, how can I, in front of a room full of judges, juvenile court judges, some I knew from my time in the care system, but how can I make impact in these ways? How can I show up, not only just for myself, share my experience, but leave them with something? So one of the things I noticed, or one of the things I was doing research on at the time, was the homelessness in Atlanta, because that's where I'm from. And one of the things I noticed was there's a housing voucher, which I'll talk about in later episodes, but there's a housing voucher in Georgia that hasn't been used. So because of that, I wanted to highlight the significance of the housing voucher, as they have youth in the juvenile court system that go from foster care to homelessness in a matter of 12 to 18 months or 1 to 2 years. And the importance of me sharing that was far exceeded more than what I could. So I gave a minute 30. I gave 2 minutes of my story of growing up in the care system and feeling like out of the juvenile court system, I could have got more, but it would happen. But I then shared the homelessness epidemic, the housing voucher, statistics on the housing voucher, because the juvenile court judge who I communicated with, I maybe had breakfast with him. It was a group table, but he told me, hey, when you go up there, not when I go up there, but hey, a lot of times people get the misconception that the story, but a lot of these people that you're going to be talking to, we're talking in front of, like numbers. So what I did was, in a matter of 1 hour, because this happened at breakfast, we were going up at 9, breakfast was at 7, we had to 9 to 9:05 to talk. I said, well, let me look up some calculations real quick. And there was a lot of information out there. So long story short, 5 minutes, 2 minutes about my story, 17 years in the foster care system, this and the third. Took that time. 2 minutes later, hey, we have $12 million wrapped around to help students assist or foster youth in assist of getting housing through housing vouchers. But no one's using it because no one's telling them the information that's out there. Long story short, 5 minutes is over. I'm done. I'm thinking it's over. Got called back and said, hey, I want to work with you one-on-one to discuss how we can make this a thing. I want you to talk to the CASA workers, child advocate and lawyers, and everything you can possible to deliver the same numbers you gave us unto these people. But I say all that to say, I worked with juvenile court judges. I spoke in front of the Troup County school board system about how they regulate foster youth within the school system. But I say all of that to say, not to be braggadocious, because honestly, the mission is greater than anything I can achieve. I say these things to say, I didn't do these things because to be a leader, to do or hold the title of activism or anything like that. I did these things because I just felt like there was a call to help. And sometimes when you feel like there's a call for help or a call to give yourself to something greater than you go. You simply go. So I showed up. I asked what was needed, and I did it. And then over time, people started noticing, just like that judge, just like another judge, just like those lawyers, people whose bandwidth did not exceed beyond the scale of the juvenile courts. A lot of them didn't even know how to regulate when it came to youth in the care system. So they want to be able to understand beyond the behaviors of the youth that send them to jail or in the court system or to homelessness. They want to know. A lot of them want to know. And for the ones that do know, that's where you show up. And that's when I realized consistency builds credibility. Being able to be consistent in those times, that's what matters the most. How consistent are you in showing up? Because you show up once, that's good. Tell people, yeah, I was there. I was there, but I wasn't there. But when you're there, do you care? I don't mean to get all cat in the hat on you, but that's a real question. Yes, you're there, but you're not present. Yes, you're at those meetings. But what is your intention behind those meetings? Right? Are you asking questions? Are you attributing? If you're just there to listen, that's fine, but what is the connection there? Are you connected to those things? That matters when you show up in those places that are needed. So, are you connected? And that's where we have to get into when we show up. Because when they say, I'm going to show up and I'm going to show out, that's all well and good. But when you show up and when you're consistent, it gives you a level of credibility. Because like I said, people notice. And once they notice, they ask questions. Hey, how are you? Who are you? I'm this and that, a part of this organization. And never become prideful. There's a lot of nonprofits, right? Some are right here. Some are just starting. But no matter where they are, you have to be humble within your approach. And in your humbleness, you have to be willing and still show up. And it may not be they may not have all the resources that you're looking for, but upon doing so, you join and show up to say, hey, I'm right there with you. And when you are called and you feel it to do these things, this is when you are able to understand power or presence to power. So what am I saying within that? Well, here's what I'm saying. You don't need a title to make change. You don't. It's a big misconception, but you don't need a title to make change. And what I mean by that is you don't need to be the president, the vice president. You don't need to be a politician, a person of power or influence. You can have 1 million followers on Instagram. Instagram is not a real place, right? If it was, we'd be posting the realness of where we are in our lives. I think there's a lot of things. I'll make another video about it, but just know Instagram isn't a real place. But you can follow us on Instagram at Outreach with Reggie. We're also on Spotify on all platforms. But as a shameless plug, what's not shameful is knowing that you don't need a title, you don't need a following, you don't need this grandiose scheme. You don't need a platform to make change, is what I'm telling you. You don't need to have a title to have influence. But what you do need is to be present. You need to be there when you're there. You know? You need to be there. You need to be connected. You need to be present. Because what happens is we have a lot of people that, and this is never going to be a political channel, but when you're present, you realize there's a lot of things I can learn, right? As a student of life, you're always learning. And as you get to learn how these systems work, both institutional and systematic, or systematic indifferences, well, I want change. Well, what are you learning about those things? How connected are you within your city councils, your local government? Meetings happening throughout all where you can talk to the mayor directly. Are you doing these things? Nonprofits around your city, locally, that are making these changes. How connected or woven are you into those systems, right? Volunteering, I'll lower it down. How connected are you to the things that you are passionate or complaining about? Because I feel like there's always a misconception, right? We have voting every 4 years. We believe, and a lot of my friends who I talk to believe that, oh, I don't vote because I don't think my vote matters and I don't think anything's going to change anyway. Or then you have another group of people that say, hey, well, I'm voting for him because he's going to change this, that, and the third. And that's fine. Believe what you want to believe. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is to go deeper beyond what's out there. Meaning, be present within the local institutions as well as those nationally. But I also encourage you to be present. In presence, what does presence look like, you ask? Well, presence is this. Presence is when no one else shows up. Presence is when you're tired and you're weary. Man, it's been a long day. But you still go and you're still there. Presence is when you feel invincible. You feel like you go unseen, unheard. You feel like your voice does not matter in the case. You can't speak on the matter, right? All these things are contributing factors into what presence is. Because what happens is that presence, when you're there and you're focused, it turns into visibility. People notice who keeps coming back. They may not know your name. They're like, who are they right there? I don't know who they are. I don't know who that person is. But I guarantee you, I've been watching them these past couple of days, these past couple of weeks. They're here. They're taking notes. They're listening. They're present. Let's walk over there and ask them. The human is naturally curious, right? So when you're present, they notice who's willing to help without a camera or a hashtag, funny enough. And eventually those people get invited to those same spaces where decisions are made, right? Within the nonprofit atmosphere, or just being able to make change, making that step. And that's what presence is. So here's the truth, right? If you care, you are already qualified. If you show up consistently, you are already building power. And if you're listening to this right now or watching, you are already on the journey. Because I want to speak directly to you right there. To you with my little figure here, to you. I want to speak directly to someone who feels like, hey, I'm not a leader. I'm just the everyday common person that's going through the struggles of life and having a human experience that says, Reggie, I'm not a leader. I'm just trying to survive. And I feel you. And I get that too. But let me introduce a thought to you. Leadership doesn't always mean leading a crowd. Sometimes being the one person who dares to say something, who dares to speak, who cuts the tension with a knife and says, hey, something about this, there's something someone needs to speak up on. And I'm going to be the person that says something. Even if it makes me look like a complete fool to you, I know within me, within the spark that happens in my heart, I'm called to say something about this. So if you have that in you, you are already qualified. And leadership does not always look like what you see on TV. Now I'll explain what that means. It's not always what's on a podium. It's not a big crowd. Sometimes, like I said, throughout the course of this episode, leadership is quiet. It is faithful. It is behind the scenes. Sometimes it's the mom who keeps showing up at the school board meeting, even when they keep ignoring her about her son or the things that he comes home to her and talk about. Sometimes it's the guy who picks up trash on the sidewalk and no one thinks about because they keep throwing it out there. But he makes the goal and the intent every day to keep picking up the trash. Sometimes it's you who shows up for your friends, checking on your neighbor, staying in church to clean up chairs, being an instrument in the community that's not highlighted, that's often misrepresented, that goes unseen and unheard, right? Do not let the world fool you into thinking that what you are doing is small. Because what is small to the world, is what's sacred into the communities that you serve. And here's the wild thing, right? People who are consistent, they become the anchors. They're the ones who the people turn to when things are falling apart. Not because they have little, of course not. It's because they've been there. Because of their presence. And more importantly, your community feels you. Even if they don't say it out loud, even if they never say another word to you at all. It's like, yeah. Him? You? Yeah, they're present. They're for sure. I know him. I know who they are. I know who he is. I know who she is. I know who they are. They do the work. You can't say, I don't know. I may not like them. I may not like who they are. I may not accept who they are. I may not like the things that they do, but dang it. They work. They mean what they say. So that's what it means. But what does that look like in relationships? Because that's the ticker. Yeah. I asked that question because I want to take it a step deeper. And before I say this, I am in no way, shape, or form the perfect person ever, like you, like you, as I break the fourth wall constantly. I'm a man of his falters as I'm a man of my successes. And I am able to admit that I am nowhere near the microscope. I'm nowhere near the catalyst of perfection. It's actually within my imperfections where I find a deeper layer of self-discovery. So take my words as you may. But presence isn't just about community and community events or public spaces or public speaking, or none of that. Presence, sometimes the real test of it is in your relationships. So let me ask you this. How are you showing up for the people closest to you? Not just when it's convenient, not just when things are going well, right? But in the hard, in the quiet, and in the uncomfortable moments. Presence in your relationship may look like calling your sibling just to say, I'm thinking about you, right? Sitting in silence with a friend who's grieving and not feeling like a need to fix it. Not feeling there is a need to fix it. Just being present, being there. Not walking away when a conversation gets hard or the mood gets in the way or it gets heavy. Saying, I'm not perfect, but I'm still here. And on the flip side, it may be even showing up for yourself. Maybe it's finally saying, I deserve a relationship where presence goes both ways. Because showing up doesn't mean being a doormat. It means being intentional. It means being honest. It means saying, I care enough to stay engaged, to try, to love without vanishing. And let's be real. We live in a world where ghosting is so normal, where silence is the easy way out. Mind you, I'm getting my notes together. But where silence is the easy way out. So when you choose to stay in the present and in the presence of love, in family, even through tension or discomfort, that is leadership too. Leadership isn't just about leading crowds. It's not. It's about leading with your heart too. It's about going first. It's about being the first to forgive. It's the first to ask, are you okay? It's the first to say, I'm still here. If no one has ever taught you to do that, like I said, I'm a man of imperfections, right? I struggle with these things, so as I tell you this, I tell myself this in the current present, which is August 7th, or when it's published, August 8th, recorded August 7th of 2025. I say this to myself as well. That's okay. Because you got to be the one that breaks the pattern. That being through failure, that being through success, that being through learning, experiencing. All of this goes into growth, into the knowledge of being able to say, I recognize now. Sometimes we get those things where it's too late. It's too late. But it's okay. It's okay, I promise it's okay. Because you get to be the one who teaches presence by practicing it. You are now the conduit of that change. So I proclaim this to you. Be present. And it's okay not to have it all the way right away. I'm a man who learns in failure and in success. And I had to learn this the hard way too. You may not get it all the time, but you don't quit. You learn, you grow, and you hope in the process of losing, or the process within those times where you find yourself at that bottom, you pick yourself back up and you say, you know what, thank you. Thank you for the privilege of failing. Because failing isn't falling. Failing is not falling. But failing is an introduction to learning. And learning is the door to greater success. So it's not perfectly, but it's faithfully having the faith to keep doing it again and again and again and again until you're present in it. So here is your challenge. Find one place to be present in your community. Whether it's school, church, your local board meeting, a shelter, or just checking in on a neighbor or a friend or a significant other. Even if no one claps, even when no one notices it right away, it's okay. Because presence is a seed. It's a seed. Presence is a seed. This small. And when nurtured, it grows to power. I thank you for being with me here. Thank you for being here with another video, another episode, another welcoming space with me on Outreach with Reggie. If you've been enjoying these new videos from me now, I'd love for you to leave a review. We're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeart. We're on YouTube Music. We're on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel. Leave a review. If you're on Instagram, leave a like. Comment what you would like to see on the podcast. But overall, thank you for welcoming me into your home, into your space for this time. Thank you. And take care.